Welcome to the Build Your Dreams short course. In this course, we're going to be talking a lot about dreaming and making your dreams a reality. And we know how difficult this can be for so many people. And that's why we decided to go ahead and do this short course. As we grow and become older, we are very, very, very well aware of all of the things that can go wrong that can keep us from achieving our dreams, whether it's financial, it's personal limitations, uh, time constraints, whatever the case may be. So many people have these huge dreams when they're younger, and that's why older generations absolutely love watching the younger generation because they recognize that spark and that excitement and that enthusiasm for life. And as we get older, we've experienced some of the challenges and setbacks that can happen, and that tends to limit us in our ability to achieve our dreams. The reality of the situation, however, is that you can achieve your dreams regardless of what they are, just by doing a few simple things. And that tends to be very difficult for people when they're thinking about their dreams because dreams are so sometimes so far out there and so far out of touch that you become overwhelmed by the prospect of ever being able to attain that. Many of you have heard the stories of, teachers asking a child, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And that really is what this course is about. It's what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go in your life that would help to make your life feel complete, make you feel fulfilled in your lifetime? And if you listen to those stories about teachers that have asked children what they want to be when they grow up or what they want to do when they grow up, there's no limitation to what children will say. One of the funniest stories I have is of my own daughter. I asked her when she was probably about 4 or 5 what she wanted to be when she grew up, and she told me, "Mom, I want to be president of the world." And to me, being an adult, it was really funny because we know that president of the world doesn't really exist. But in her mind, that was very attainable. And so she didn't have the constraints that get placed on us as we become adults. And really, those constraints oftentimes are self-inflicted, and those will prevent us from being able to actually achieve what we want to achieve with our lives. So, in this next few segments, we're going to talk a lot about how you take that vision that's been created in your head and you make it happen in real life. And how do you determine what your actual dreams are? Because sometimes things seem like they're going to be exactly what we want. And then as we start to progress towards that goal, then we find out that it really wasn't what we wanted after all. So, how do we prevent ourselves from following the wrong path or chasing the wrong dream? And that's not to say that your dreams are, not valid or that they're incorrect. It's just sometimes life changes. So, how do we stay on track to achieve the things that we want to achieve? How do we fulfill our purpose? And how do we make ourselves feel like we've done what we've set out to do in our lives? So in this Make Your Dreams Your Reality little mini series, we're going to give you the keys to make you successful in choosing dreams that you want to go after and actually taking the steps necessary to get there. Henry Ford probably said it best, and these are words of wisdom to live by when you're thinking about your dreams and what you want to accomplish. He said, "Think you can, think you can't. Either way, you'll be right." And he's exactly right. If you are in a certain frame of mind, then your physical limitations, time constraints, everything goes by the wayside, and you are able to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. On the flip side of that, if you don't think you can do something, you're right, you won't, because you will unintentionally put constraints on yourself that make it impossible for you to do what you're setting out to do. So, mindset is a really, really powerful thing when it comes to dreaming and accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish. We know probably the biggest thing that we think about when we think about setting goals and having dreams are New Year's resolutions. And an interesting fact about New Year's resolutions is that only 8% of people who actually set New Year's resolutions achieve those resolutions. And 80% of the people that set out with a New Year's resolution at the beginning of the year will actually fail by February 15th. So, why set New Year's resolutions? Why set goals? Why try to achieve something when your chances of quote unquote failure are so high? Well, there's a few reasons why people actually fail to achieve their dreams and their New Year's resolutions and any goal that they set. And the first of those is that they become overwhelmed by the process. When people dream, it tends to be the big picture that we're looking at. And when you look at the big picture, it all looks wonderful and everything is going to be perfect, and how happy you're going to be once you achieve those things. But then when you sit down and start to think about what you actually have to do to achieve that dream or goal that you set out to achieve, trying to figure out all those steps and putting them in order and how to get to where you want to go can be very, very overwhelming. And that causes people to become stagnant in their drive to go towards something, because they're just overwhelmed and they tend to be chasing their tail, if you will, because they're not sure where to go next or what to do or how to get from point A to point B. The second reason that most people fail is because they underestimate the amount of time or effort involved in achieving those dreams and understanding what it's going to take to get them there. So that underestimation, once they get into the process and it starts taking longer than what they thought or longer than what they feel it should take, they get frustrated and tend to lose hope. Another reason that people fail to achieve their dreams and goals is because of a lack of ownership. How many times have you sat down and thought about wanting to do something, and you are like, "Hey, I want to be," maybe you want to be a doctor, or maybe you wanted to become a veterinarian, and you set out to achieve that and things got hard, grades maybe weren't where they were supposed to be, and you kind of lose your motivation for doing that. Part of that comes from, whose idea was it to really have this dream? Are you doing it because it's something that you genuinely want to do? Or are you doing it because of other reasons, because other people are, leading you to believe that that's the path that you should be on or what you should do? Is it society that's pushing you towards something that maybe you're not comfortable with? Maybe you feel like it should be different. We have a lot of newer awards in our industry. I say newer because we've done a lot of awards in different sports, but you're seeing a lot of centennial type awards, especially in the horse industry. For instance, in dressage, they have the centennial rides where the age of the rider plus the age of the horse adds up to be over 100 years. Um, that kind of is taking the stigma away from the, only people who can compete are the young people. But if your goal is to be, an Olympic level competitor, society will tell you if you're over a certain age that it's not possible for you to do that. In the horse industry, we're lucky enough that that age goes up, but if you're a gymnast and you're 25 years old, chances are you're not going to be an Olympic gymnast because, age, society dictates that you're too old for that, or you're too tall for that, or too short for that, or too pretty for that, or not pretty enough for that. So, what are the real reasons that you're going after something, and what is it that makes you want that goal? Is it really your goal? Or is it something that society tells you should do, or family members or friends tell you that you should be doing? Um, you reach a certain age and people will start telling you, oh, you should be getting married, or oh, you should be having children, or oh, you should be doing this or doing that. And that's part of life, and that's part of what is considered to be normal by society, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right path for everyone. And if you're chasing after a dream that's not really your dream, that lack of ownership of that dream will make it nearly impossible for you to achieve it because it's not really your desire. It's you're doing something for someone else. Another reason that people fail at achieving their goals and dreams is because they have no accountability. And basically, they, keep their dreams somewhat of a secret because they're afraid of what people are going to say. And in doing so, they don't make themselves accountable for their action and working towards that goal. And paired with that, then you won't have any benchmarks or, little stepping stones and milestones that you achieve that will help you achieve those goals. And during that process, I mean, sometimes these dreams are so big that they take a long time to achieve. And if you don't have little baby goals or baby steps to take along the way, you go back to the cycle of starting with overwhelm and underestimation of what it's going to take to do that. So this is kind of like, um, why in the world would anybody dream and want to achieve something if, all these roadblocks are in the way and all these things are going to happen? And so that's kind of what we are doing in this little course is we're trying to help you see that roadblocks are normal. That's a normal part of life. Things are going to happen, and how you approach that is going to determine how successful you are at achieving the things that you're going after. So, not to be on the negative Nancy side of things at the beginning, and forgive us any Nancys out there that are listening, but not to be on the negative side of things to start off, but we don't want you to feel like, you don't have an accurate picture of what's going to happen and that you're alone in this process because everybody faces these things when they're dealing with their dreams. So, how do you turn your dreams into reality? How do you take control of your dreams and make yourself successful at achieving those? And first and foremost is knowing where it is exactly that you want to go. What is the dream that you're chasing after? And how or what do you want to accomplish ultimately? Where are you going? People talk about life and they compare it to a journey, and it very much is a journey that you're on. But what is it that's going to make you feel the most complete and the most whole at the end of the day? And then we talk about the plan, and that's when are you going to achieve these things? How are you going to achieve them? You wouldn't uh, take a vacation across the country without having a roadmap, and you wouldn't, or GPS. however you want to look at it. I probably just dated myself there, but you wouldn't do this without having something to guide your journey. And that's exactly what you have to do with your dreams too. You have to have a plan in place, set that roadmap out to help you get from point A to point B and all the little stops that are going to happen along the way. And if you're planning for those things, then when the roadblocks do come into play, you know where the detours are, you know how to maneuver around those so that you can continue on your path towards your dream. The last part of achieving your dreams is action. And I know these things sound very, very basic, but so many people struggle getting from point A to point B. And the reason they struggle is not because they don't have the dreams. They have the dreams, they have the desire, they have the will to do it, but they lack the plan and they lack the action. The action is how you're going to get there. It's taking actions and setting your plan in motion and doing things that continually move you in the right direction towards your goal. So, those are the three basic steps to achieving your dreams. And I know this is in its very simplistic form, but we do give you some tools in this. And, we're going to talk about the first tool here in just a few minutes, but we give you tools throughout this workshop to help you um, to develop that roadmap and put those action pieces into place so that you can continually move towards that dream. But first, before we can do anything, we have to figure out what that dream is. What is it that you want to achieve? That's your vision, and your vision is what you dream it to be. So this isn't about limitations. This isn't about money, time, effort. It doesn't have anything to do with any of that. What it has to do with is what you feel fulfills you most. So when we're talking about dreaming, we want you to be bold and think big. This is your vision, and it's all about what you want to achieve. So it's not about what your parents want you to do. It's not about what your children want you to do, your spouse wants you to do. It's not about any of that, not what your trainer wants you to do if you're, riding somewhere or you're involved in other sports. It's not about any of that. It's about what you want. And this type of self-reflection is really difficult for a lot of people because when they sit down to think about this, they've never really actually thought about things from their own perspective. They're always attaching stipulations and other people's desires to what they want. Oh, if I only had this, or if I only could do that, then I'd be happy. And that's not true. Happiness comes from doing what you are meant to do, not what everybody else thinks you're meant to do. When we're talking about the dreaming process or what you want to accomplish, no dream is too big and no dream is unattainable. You can do whatever it is that you put your mind to, like Henry Ford said. Think you can, think you can't, either way you're right. You can achieve anything. If all of the people that have gone before us and have done great things said, oh, that's just too hard, or oh, there's no way anybody could ever start their own country, or no one could ever, travel around the world, no one could ever fly. These are all things that we think of now and go, well, that's silly, that's already happened. But there once was a time when those things hadn't happened. And if people thought that it was too big or too scary or too difficult, we wouldn't have all the things that we have now, medical breakthroughs and technology. You're sitting here watching this video on your computer, and 100 years ago, that wasn't even a thought in anybody's mind. Um, and if we all had that mentality of, oh, we can't do that, it's too difficult, then we wouldn't have any of the things that we have now. So when you're dreaming, when you're thinking about what it is that you want to do, I want you to think big. I want you to think about what's important to you in your life. In this segment of the course, there is a worksheet that we have, and that worksheet helps you to determine what is most important to you. And it's called the Wheel of Life. And anybody who's ever heard of Tony Robbins knows about the Wheel of Life and what this is about. But it focuses on key areas in your life that people um, that people have to deal with. And so, and it's figuring out which aspects are most important to you, what areas you're currently content in, and what areas need development. And this wheel of life actually focuses on all aspects of your life because if there's an imbalance somewhere, it negates the level of accomplishment that you feel when you've achieved something. So, for instance, in the Wheel of Life, the 8 key areas are your business and career, your finances, your health, family and friends, romance, personal growth, fun and recreation, and personal or physical development. So these are 8 key areas in your life. And if you're only focusing on your career, for instance, and there's nothing else that you're focusing on, that may cover your financial well-being, um, but it leaves out your family and friends and romance and fun and recreation. You may have some personal growth and physical development in that process, but it's going to leave an imbalance in family and romance and fun and recreation, and possibly even your health. So we're going to look at this from a different perspective, and we're going to look at it in an area that cover or a dream that fulfills all aspects of your life, not just one area. People tend to get tunnel vision a little bit when they're thinking about these things. So in your portal here, there is a worksheet called Create Your Vision Worksheet, and that does have the Wheel of Life on it. And what it asks you to do first is to rate each of those aspects of your life on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being very dissatisfied and 10 being fully satisfied. And they want you to reflect, or we want you to reflect on your current score in each of those areas. And then you're going to mark on your wheel of life accordingly to what numerical score you gave that. And then you're going to start to look at how to balance that. When you're doing this, use the first number that pops into your head. Don't put a number down that you think it should be. Use the one that you think is the most accurate and most accurately reflects how you currently feel about your situation. And then we're going to talk about looking at those from a standpoint of money and resources and time were not a factor. What would make your life most complete? So, how would your life look if money and resources were not a factor? What have you always wanted to do but were afraid to do? What do you want to have if you had more time? What would you wish for? What character traits do you want people to remember you for? So once you're old and gray or whatever, or once you're gone from this earth, what do you want people to remember you for? What would leave you the most fulfilled? And are there other areas that you would like to see developed that maybe are not listed here? So when we talk about those, you're going to think of them in perspective of each individual aspect of the wheel of life. So with your friends and family, think about those questions that we just asked and what would leave you most fulfilled and what do you want them to remember you for? and so on and so forth through the rest of them. This is going to help you create your vision. And your vision is that big dream that you have for your life. You know, there are so many different aspects to our lives. And we often forget that, going back to our Olympian analogy, we often forget that they have lives outside of being an Olympian. You know, maybe they're married, maybe they have children, maybe they have grandchildren. Maybe they have a different job that they did full time. Prime example would be Klaus Balkenhol when he went to the Olympics. He was actually a mounted police officer. And it's kind of crazy when we think about how, you know, he's this Olympian, he's competing with his horse, and yet he has a day job as a police officer. Now, granted, he was a mounted police officer, so he got to work with his horse an awful lot. But, you know, it's not just about one aspect of your life. And if you push everything off to do one thing, later in life, you tend to be a little dissatisfied because you haven't balanced the things that are important to you. So, we're talking about these aspects to help you create that vision board. You've probably heard of vision boards before, where people post these posters up on their walls or whatever, and clip out pictures and stuff to help remind them of what it is that their dream is. And that is definitely an important aspect. But understanding the underlying pieces of the wheel of life and things like that will help you in creating a vision board that fulfills all of your life, not just part of it. So the worksheets that we have are there to help you to design your own dream and help you achieve your own dream. So when you're sitting there thinking about this, looking at the road ahead, what does that look like at the end? What do you see at the end of that road? That big picture that makes you feel most complete. So go ahead and work through that worksheet in step one. There are instructions on the worksheet to help you in the process. And then write down what it is that you dream of, or what your big vision is, and draw out that dream life, that vision statement, what you want to achieve, without regard for how or why or time or money. What is it that you want most out of your life if there were no limitations? Go ahead and take your time, get that filled out, and we will see you in the next session.